folks, it's 2023, and we have an update for you. A culture shock update. Stay tuned!
I'm shocked.
You're shocked. Still shocked. Hi, I'm Kevin, this is Grace, and we're The Stories.
We're comparing Kenyan and American cultures to see what's different but also similar.
And today we're doing an update on my first culture shock video about going to Kenya for the first time.
For the first time.
Yeah, but an update.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, we were recently back in Kenya for a trip, visiting our family, and we noticed a lot of changes since the last time we'd been there, which, because of the pandemic and lockdowns, we haven't been there for a while.
Since 2020.
So we thought we should do a little update on our culture shock video. You know, that culture shock video, to this day, continues to be one of our most popular videos. Did you know that? As of this video, 82.1 thousand.
Oh, that's scary.
Why is it scary?
I don't
That's what we
know.
want. We want people to watch our videos, so we got to thank you for watching our videos and supporting us.
Yes,
and
thank
if you're not
you.
already subscribed, you should probably do that.
Hit that bell button. Is that what they do?
So we were recently in Kenya, like I said, visiting our family, and we were there in November of 2022. And I knew already going in that there were going to be some changes. We've been watching videos about how Nairobi's been changing over the past few years. And so there was some expectation that we would see things we hadn't seen before, right?
Yeah, I was expecting to see a lot of changes
You were.
in terms of infrastructure.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, and I mean, I was expecting things to be a little different.
Yeah.
But I still had expectations of things not having been that different. It's only a couple years, things don't tend to change that quickly. So here are 6 more culture shocks that I experienced going to Kenya after having been away for a couple years. Some of them are shocks because Nairobi has just changed in those couple years, but some of them are shocks that probably still existed and I just didn't experience my first time.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Shock number 1, arriving at JKIA. Now, arriving at JKIA was in my initial culture shock video. Do you remember? Remember what I said about it? The terminal itself, the arrivals terminal, feels like a temporary building. Maybe someday they'll build a real building. So yeah, I pretty much was like, what's with this weird arrivals terminal? And I'd been used to that, so I was expecting it. But guess what? We landed in the new arrivals terminal at JKIA, which I think has something to do with Kenya Airways. Is that right? It's like the Kenya Airways arrivals. And we both were shocked, weren't we?
Yeah, I was very shocked.
Yeah. It was just very nice, though, right? It was a very nice arrivals terminal. Even go through customs and then getting out of the building and being in a different place, not knowing where to be picked up because the arrivals terminal is different there. There was like a pickup place sort of in the parking lot area.
Yeah.
And then it was a little disorienting to know exactly where we were
Yeah.
since it was our first time there. It was kind of cool.
Am I talking about my shock in that? Or?
You have more shock to say?
Yeah, I was shocked by how long it took me to enter my own country, like the line. Oh my God, what?
Number two, Nairobi is growing, which, again, not so much of a shock. We did expect it a little bit, but we didn't expect it to be so prolific, right? There was really a lot of new construction, a lot of new buildings that weren't there before,
Yeah.
new roads. I mean, where were we? Oh, Ngong Road. That whole thing is all done now.
Yeah. When 2020 they were still constructing the one part of the highway. Yeah. Now it's all complete. So
And
big.
that's not to mention, of course, the new bypass, which we didn't take, but we did take the Nairobi Expressway
Yeah.
while we were there, and
Yeah.
all that new stuff. And even the building we stayed in, I think, was
Yeah.
was
it was very
new.
new. Yeah.
I wonder how everything will keep pace. So, when you build up a lot of new housing in a place, you often then also need new business, new schools, like other new infrastructure that goes along with the city.
Yeah.
And I would also hate to see Nairobi, listen to me. I would hate to see Nairobi become a place that it's hard to get around and find stuff, right? So like, or to require a car to get to places, you know, because really right now you can get away with not having a car in Nairobi. You should be able to walk to somewhere, several places maybe that sell food. You should be able to walk to several places that sell other random stuff you might need, whether that's in a mall or if it's single shop somewhere or whatever.
Yeah.
But some of these new buildings, they might be going up in more residential areas that have less of that other infrastructure. And so then do you start to drive the city in that direction? Like Los Angeles is kind of that way. There's not, you know, even if you had stuff that was near you in Los Angeles, you wouldn't feel like you wanted to walk to it necessarily, right? So I guess keeping all of that in mind
Yeah.
as they grow and expand. But it was very cool to see new buildings, new skyscrapers, new.
Oh, restaurants as well. So many.
Lots of new restaurants.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff too.
Yeah.
And locals, lots of new locals that are maybe a little more posh or bougier than they were in the past.
Yeah.
Is it good? I already alluded to number 3, but number 3 is the Nairobi Expressway, right? Which they were in the process of starting to build when we were last there together.
Yes.
I guess the shock was even having seen a few videos of it, the shock for me was that it's very present, I guess, is the thing. Like there's no escaping it. It's very big and concrete and lighted signs and all of that. I guess so that part of it was a little shocking. I guess I was anticipating it would sort of be built into the city a little more than it is.
Yeah, and then it blocks some of the views we're used to. Like when you're driving along Uhuru Highway, you're used to seeing all this tall buildings. Now you're like, well, this thing is now here, the structure.
Right. Yeah, it kind of is in the way.
Yeah. Or to add on to something shocking on that for me was the idea of paying tolls. This is a very new concept. I was like, what?
And I was shocked because those toll booths they have Chinese on them. Like, they're not... It's a little weird, I think. I know that you have a lot of Chinese people who probably live in Nairobi, but...
Yeah. Well, that wasn't shocking to me.
Oh, that shocked me. Because I'm used to seeing signs in Kenya
English.
are in English and Swahili,
Yeah.
you know, or just one. Like most caution signs just say Hatari on them. Yeah, so the Nairobi Expressway was definitely like a shock. It was a shock. But it was also cool in a way. It was cool to be on it and to see buildings go by and to really feel like I was back in New York. That's really what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like being on, you know, any one of on the Major Deegan or something. Just
Brooklyn, most specifically.
It felt like Brooklyn to you? Like the Brooklyn Queens Expressway?
Yeah.
Number 4 is something I'd heard about but never experienced while in Kenya. But we got to experience one together. And that was a power outage. Shock. Pew, pew, pew. Power outages. Tell me about power outages in Nairobi.
It's just a normal thing. I don't...
Right.
Like, I don't know. You have electricity and the next minute you don't. And then it comes back. It's no.
Is that how it is? Wow. So I don't know what it is though in terms of what causes it or anything like that, but there tend to be times when the power just goes out.
Yeah. So like prior years, I don't know if it's the same. Like, because as you know, Nairobi is developing. At times, maybe they need to install electricity in a place, so they cut it out, like for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
And then it comes back. But normally they do notify you on the newspapers. Like, oh, when in this area, like JKIA and Kilimani is not going to have electricity from I don't know, 9 p.m. to 6. 9 a.m. to 6. Oh my God. And so forth, yeah. And also, if you haven't paid your bill, the power cuts out. So.
Right. Well, so to begin with, what happens when the power does go out?
Yeah.
Many buildings in Nairobi are equipped with... Nairobi again. Nairobi. I don't know what's going on. Many buildings in Nairobi are equipped with a generator. Mm-hmm. So the generator kicks on automatically if the power goes out, which the first time it did in our building, that's what happened.
Yes.
Power went out. It was out for a few minutes, maybe at most. Mm-hmm. And then you could hear the generator kick on, and then suddenly the lights were back.
Yep.
If the power does go out and you're in Nairobi, don't panic. We all have lights on our phones and things, and there's ways of, moving around. But hopefully your building has a generator and you can just sit tight for a bit, and then the power will come back. Mm-hmm. But then, it's that second thing you talked about, which is the electricity will go out when you don't pay your bill. Well, so we're staying at an Airbnb. And the power had already gone out once. So the power went out again, and then came back in the morning. And then later, the power just went out completely. Didn't come back. And we noticed that, the lights are on in other places, and the street lights are on. So it's like, and the building's still on, the lights are on in the rest of the building. We were like, oh, there's something wrong with the electricity in our apartment. So, I, being from America, I'm like, oh, well, it must be a circuit breaker or something. So let me just go and find the panel, and we'll turn on the circuit breakers. So I did find a panel, but it was not what I'm used to seeing. And nothing there seemed to be a problem. So I was like, all right, I don't know what it is anymore. So we sent Grace's brother to go to the front to see what was going on. Apparently what happened is they get a notification too, or something. And so these people were able to tell your brother, oh no, your bill's just not paid. You're out of tokens. And I was like, tokens? What do you mean tokens? So what are tokens?
I don't know. It was my first time using those as well. So.
Oh, well here I thought it was like a thing.
So, I know it's a thing, but we've never used it. So at my parents' house, we still use the old method where you pay your electricity bill per month. Mm-hmm. So it never runs out.
Right.
Or, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's how it is here.
Yes, exactly.
You pay your electricity bill or your gas bill or whatever.
Yeah.
They charge you for what you use.
Yes.
So you use a certain amount, you pay that amount. Mm-hmm. Bada bing. Yeah. But apparently this one worked different then. And so it's not that you're paying for a month or how much you use in a month. You do pay for how much you use, but I guess it's more like putting minutes on your phone, minutes on your SIM card. You pay for a certain amount of service, and then you get that amount of service.
Right, yeah.
So if you pay for 300 kilowatts, then you get 300 kilowatts, and when you're done with that 300 kilowatts, the power stops. Mm-hmm. You've run out of tokens.
Yeah.
Grace was messaging with our Airbnb host, because we're in an Airbnb, it's not like our place,
Yeah.
And, was trying to figure out what's going on, and this guy calls, and he's like, okay, here's what I need you to do. I was like, all right, let's do this thing. And he had a code, and that code needed to be put into a device that I didn't know what it was for, but it was sitting in the kitchen, and it's like a little, I don't know, it's a box, like electronic box about the size of like a tape recorder, like a large tape recorder or something, And he's like, great, I plug that into the wall, turn on the socket. And we're like, okay, sure. Turn on the socket. We don't have power. Turned it on, and we waited a moment, and I pushed a button on the thing, and it just started up. I was like, oh, that's wild.
It's magic.
And then we put in a code, very sci-fi, actually, very, very high-tech. And then we put in this code, and all of the power went on. It was wild.
It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, the guy was very apologetic.
Yeah.
The landlords. He was like, I think he was very embarrassed. So, but anyway, now we know about electricity tokens.
And tokens, yeah.
Okay, thing 5, recycling. So I mentioned I don't know if it was in a culture shock video or one of the other videos, but I mentioned once that about recycling in America. Maybe it was you talking about culture shock here in America.
Probably.
And so we separate out our plastics and our papers and our metals and this and that so that they can go off and be recycled. And I mentioned this would be a great scheme for somebody to come up with in Nairobi in Kenya. There's a lot of stuff. You can melt down plastic, turn it into something else. You can take paper and turn it into other things. So I just mentioned it offhandedly. Well, it turns out there are indeed many, well, I don't know many, but there are a number of these recycling sort of startups in Nairobi working. There's some interesting ones that are specific. Like I've seen ones on other YouTube videos about recycling flip-flops, or what do you call them? Slippers. Pata pata. And they turn those into things.
Yeah.
I see people recycling glass bottles for different things, and so it's cool. And then we firsthand saw, because there was a dumpster out behind.
It was not a dumpster. It was like where all the rubbish for where we were staying
Yeah.
are kept.
Yeah. There wasn't a dumpster there? Like
No.
a big skip of some kind?
No.
Oh, well then I just misremembered it. But do you have a word for that, or do you not have those at all?
Where all the rubbish goes.
So they're going through this pile of trash,
Yeah.
right? And they're picking out certain pieces. I think they were picking out metal.
In plastics.
Metal and plastics.
Yeah.
So they're picking out all this metal and plastic stuff. They're throwing it into the truck. Pretty big truck. Pretty well loaded truck. And they came and did that a few days in a row. So I think that's a gig. Like people are doing it. They're finding the stuff. Metal is very easy to recycle. You just need a hot enough heat. Plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, different kinds of plastic do different things. So it's great to see. People are turning it into business.
Yeah, I wish they could do a better job like we have here. They ask all the tenants or people living on the apartment to separate the rubbish. So you have a bag for plastic and a bag for just general, to make it easier for these people coming to pick it up. You know?
Yeah, the way it works in New York City, all of the recycling needs to be separated. So really it's into two different categories. One is paper and the other is glass, plastic, and metal. Because they can take the glass, plastic, and metal and sort it out, I guess fairly easy, but paper is harder to deal with when in terms of that. So the Department of Sanitation picks them up on different days and then processes them.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of that a lot of the stuff that's put through recycling doesn't end up getting recycled. A lot of it becomes waste. It's a little better in California, where they actually don't ask you to separate stuff. They do all the separation themselves. And then they clean everything and stuff. There's a much more robust program. In any case. Have I gone on too long about sanitation in New York City? Final note. We had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
It rained a lot. And so there was consequently a lot of flooding. And even, I think, when we landed... Was it the day we landed? It was raining, and we had to drive through, literally drive through like a river on the street.
It was crazy.
Yeah, so drainage, better drainage.
Yeah,
I guess
should be better.
Yeah, I have a feeling too that with more construction, that stuff gets worse because more of the ground becomes concrete instead of actual earth.
Yeah.
So some kind of drainage is going to be pretty important. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of flooding. Yeah. That's all my culture shocks that I can think of. Well, I don't know. Nairobi Street Kitchen, a little overrated.
I think, we knew about it going in.
Yeah. And it was not busy. I mean, it got busy later. It was the World Cup, so people did come by, but it wasn't busy. I don't know if it's living up to the hype. I don't know. Nairobians, you can let us know in the comments what you think. All right. Well, those are our culture shocks. Hey, have you visited Nairobi recently? You want to talk about your experience, or maybe you live in Nairobi and you want to share something? Drop that down in the comments below. Let us know what you're thinking. If you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, share this video with all your friends. And until next time, Kwaheri.
Bye.